The Heat kicked off a 4-game road trip in Washington in a game that came down to the wire after yet another blown lead. Is this a recurring problem for the Heat? We'll break it all down, plus our weekly visit with Nostradamus and why Eric Spoelstra deserves our flowers, all that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Monday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat. However you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or at your favorite podcast app, thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm David Ramil, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Wes Goldberg. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Heat game on Saturday against the Washington Wizards, the second game of a home-and-home set. Unfortunately, Miami dropping a 103-100 loss there. It came down to the very wire with some controversial calls. And we'll also be getting a visit from Nostradamus to offer his predictions about what's going to be happening this week with your Miami Heat. But about that game, it was kind of a back-and-forth affair. Miami had a comfortable lead with about 4 minutes and 42 seconds left, about 10 points. Their lead was as great as 16. And unfortunately, Miami was wasn't able to shut down Washington's offense. They were struggling a little bit at the three-point line. The Wizards do a very, very good job of limiting three-point opportunities for the Heat. They shot just 26% from three-point range, and that was a killer for them. But there was also some difficult calls that went against Miami, including a Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm hesitant to call it a travel, West, but that's what everybody kind of wants to run with. I think the official ruling came today from the league office that was, in fact, not a travel, that he just moved his pivot foot in order to dislodge the ball and pass it out to another player. So that's kind of how the game just fell apart there. It was just, attack after attack from Washington. Miami couldn't respond. But I know you've got some statistics and a little breakdown about what happened there to kind of get into this fourth quarter.
I mean, before I get that travel call at the end, I mean, the official ruling on the last 2-minute report, Dinwiddie, this is a direct quote from the last 2-minute report. Dinwiddie gathers the ball on his right foot and establishes his left foot as his pivot before coming to a stop. He then legally lifts his pivot to pass. That's it. It says nothing of the several steps he took in between and after all that stuff. Okay. I still think it was a travel rewatching
Do you really? Because, I mean, I was watching it, and when I saw it happen, like, it did not. And it just kind of felt like, I think it was exacerbated a little bit by Eric Reed and John Crotty and saying, oh, it was an obvious blown call there and things of that sort. But it kind of just felt like Miami, or Miami fans and Miami broadcasters in this case, looking for somewhat of an excuse. That wasn't the real reason they lost the game. It's not the reason. It was a really shitty cherry on top. Yeah, it was a really shitty cherry on top of that, that crap Sunday. But go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it with the sound on, or I didn't watch it with the sound on. But I remember I'm like, how does a guy take that many steps and not travel? And I understand that there's a gather, and then there's a pivot, and then there's the pass.
Thank you, Allen
and then
Iverson.
There's the gather into the pass. It was just like, dude, that guy took like 18 steps. You can't tell me all that was gathering and pivoting and all that. Whatever. Not the reason they lost. They blew that game in the second half of that third quarter, and when Washington was able to kind of make it a manageable deficit. And then obviously in that fourth quarter when Washington ended up, erasing the lead completely and then taking their own lead. But yeah, I mean, this is a greater symptom of the Miami Heat. And look, we could break down the game, and I have a little bit of a script here that I want to get through of what exactly happened in those last 4 minutes. But it kind of speaks, I think, to a bigger issue with the Heat, which is why they keep either blowing these leads late. Sometimes it costs them a win, like they did in Washington on Saturday night. Sometimes, like a couple, last week against Utah, they were able to manage. They held on to the win, but hey, if you added like 4 minutes to that game, I think the Jazz ended up winning that game. Like the only reason the Heat won that game was because time ran out. Which those are the rules, so I'm not taking away a win from them, but. It kind of speaks to a bigger thing. So here's just sort of like the last 4 minutes. I rewatched it, David. I just sort of scripted out exactly what happened. And so the Heat are up 94-87 with 4 minutes and 17 seconds left. So still up by 7 with 4 minutes to go. You should be able to win that game. They're rolling. Tyler Herro just hit a shot. Like they're looking good. It looks like they're going to kind of just breeze onto a win. And they withstood Washington's big push in that third quarter. But KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, hits like this lucky three-pointer and gets fouled by Max Strus.
I didn't even see a call. Did you see a foul on that play?
I didn't love it.
I did not. Okay.
I didn't love that call. I think that was I understand the official may be thinking that Strus was invading his landing space, whatever. Like, dude, you were taking that shot from like 35 feet out. Your legs were splayed open. Like, isn't this exactly what we're trying to get away from? Whatever. KCP gets the free throw. You take a 94 point or 7-point lead now to 3. PJ Tucker scores on a post up on the next possession. After that, a Dinwiddie layup after kind of getting penetration from attacking Max Strus. And there's kind of that through line here with Strus. Like, Washington did a good job of targeting him and just going after him. It's not anything necessarily against Strus, but if it's between going against Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo or Max Strus, you're going to go against Max Strus. So Washington did a good job of executing that down the stretch. Lowry misses a jumper. Dinwiddie takes it back in transition, hits a 3 after that. And then Jimmy Butler misses a layup. Bradley Beal turns the ball over. Lowry misses an open 3 after that. KCP gets the ball back. Washington sprints in transition. KCP hits a 3 after getting a mismatch switched with Bam. And I actually thought late execution defensively there were some issues too, David, where they were trying to overhelp on Bradley Beal, overhelp on a hot Spencer Dinwiddie, and they would overhelp one direction or the other, and then one of these guys would just sort of get loose. On the next possession, Bam misses one of his push shots. Dinwiddie comes back with a 3. Herro misses a 3. Wizards played really good defense, forced him into a tough 3, but Herro misses it. On the next possession, Bam fouls him. Or Bam gets fouled, makes both free throws. There's a foul on the inbounds play with 35 seconds left, which is the other one that showed up in the last 2-minute report. So they foul Kuzma. Kuzma hits both free throws. The Heat didn't love that call. Last 2-minute report shows that it was the correct call. I think it was the right call. Butler's fouled by Beal on their own inbounds play. The last 2-minute report, actually, or on their next possession, Butler just sort of overshoots a layup. Last 2-minute report actually shows that was the incorrect call. They thought that Beal was just close to him, never actually fouled him or impacted the shot. Whatever. Butler hits the free throws, 101-100. Then is the Dinwiddie travel, etc. They foul Kuzma on the next possession. Kuzma hits both free throws. Game's over. Anyway, the reason I bring all that stuff up, David, is because you just go down that script. It's Washington hits a 3. Miami answers with a 2. Washington hits a 3. Miami answers with a 2. In that fourth quarter, Washington is 5 of 9 on threes. Miami is 0 for 4. And I just keep saying, like, if you keep answering 3s with 2s, stuff like this is going to happen.
Now, part of that is, it has to be given credit to Washington. They do, like I said before, a really, really good job of defending the 3-point line. But there were just some moments there. I don't know. Maybe there is a through line to read all this. And I totally hear what you're saying. But a lot of that just came down to, at least in watching it from my perspective, like Miami just missed some really makeable shots. And they kind of fell apart a little bit. But I don't even know that I'm all that concerned. Like, I'm kind of trying to voice this to help calm some of the Heat fans that are just kind of a little upset about, another blown lead and everything else like that. And I know that we're making a story out of this, but I don't know that it's necessarily a story. Like a 10-point lead with 4.5 minutes left. We've seen 10-point leads erase in seconds. Like, it's a 3-point league.
Right.
Is it really that big a deal? Are you concerned about Miami's issues? Okay. Because look, this quote is from Jimmy Butler, kind of lending a little bit of I don't know, kind of, I guess, supporting your theory a little bit. This league is very humbling, says Jimmy. It's fragile. And just as soon as you think you're good and you're high on yourself, you get hit like this. I don't think we should have lost this game. We did. We stopped doing what we were doing to get those leads. We tend to get comfortable, and that's a bad thing whenever you get complacent, and then you think the game is just going to keep going that way. So, look, he was frustrated, a tough loss. I get it. I don't know. I know there are some execution problems, and I know that Miami has been probably towards the bottom end of the league in terms of a late-game execution. So I know there's some statistics that kind of bear that out. But if you see something more concrete there, I'm curious what it might be.
You can a lead can be erased very quickly in this game, and so I don't think it should be alarming that is necessarily happening. Like, a team gets hot and a 10-point lead becomes a 2-point lead or whatever it is within a matter of seconds. But the problem is that other teams have the personnel to do that. Yeah, the Heat missed a bunch of open shots, but they're not a great 3-point shooting team in general. So they're going to miss open shots. That's kind of the definition of that. You have a lot of other teams that are much better at shooting threes than Miami is. Lowry's missing threes at the end. Tyler Herro missing threes at the end. Tyler Herro's been like a 40% three-point shooter all year. I know we're going to talk about this later, but it hurts that Duncan Robinson wasn't available late in that game, right? But you see them going with Max Strus late. I actually thought, hey, maybe you should go with Gabe Vincent later in that game because they were just targeting Strus over and over and over again during I thought, which was ultimately to me the definitive run, which was in that third quarter and in the beginning of that fourth quarter, that got them back into the game. But yeah, I like I said, when you're a poor 3-point shooting team, when you're a low volume 3-point shooting team, which Miami is, they're not necessarily poor from a percentage standpoint. But they're low volume, and they don't have guys who could just outside Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson just knock it down from 30 feet and make those really tough ones. And other teams have like several of these guys now. Stuff like this is going to happen. It's part of the way that this team is constructed. And so for that reason, I am concerned. I don't think it's a detriment to their execution necessarily, even though I think there are some defensive things that we could talk about. But I don't think that the Heat just like there was no malpractice happening here. It's just the way that they're set up versus certain teams across the rest of the league who are set up to make these kinds of runs. I think that Miami is a team that is going to have a hard time doing the opposite of this, right? Like I don't think that they're going to be a team that when they're down 17, it's going to be hard for them to claw their way back into games if they don't have all their shooters shooting at their highest level. And I think they're very susceptible to things like this.
That's a good point. And maybe we'll save that one for later on the show because that does seem like it's been a problem for Miami, that they've kind of relied, even going back to Jimmy's first season here, when they were relying on building up a big lead in the first place and then hoping that they would be able to just hang on to for dear life and be able to eke out a victory there. So that might be a concern. And we've seen them do that during that deep run to the finals. We've also saw it kind of bite them in the ass last season as well when they just weren't as talented. They didn't have the same cohesion that they had the year before, and they weren't able to hold on to those leads. And look, even in the playoffs, that's a dangerous game to play. So we'll definitely talk about that a little bit more. But first, just a reminder that if you're an NBA fanatic, you probably have not heard about Prize Picks, but Prize Picks is a daily fantasy game made easy. Prize Picks is the best NBA DFS prop game on the market, offering more NBA props than anywhere else and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players only recording a handful of minutes each game. All of your users deposit and use your promo code will receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100. Just be sure to use the promo code NBA. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected numbers. Use the award-winning app or on both the App Store or on Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Don't hesitate. Check out Prize Picks today and use the promo code NBA or go to your app store and download the app. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. And speaking of making things easy, today I want to remind you that a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle is DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com.
All right, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. David, it is time for Nostradamus. That's right, we're going to look ahead into the future and make some predictions about the Miami Heat this week. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Always ready to hear for the great beyond.
So let's first do a review of last week's Nostradamus predictions. Nostradamus predicted that Devontae Graham would be a random scrub Heat killer for the New Orleans Pelicans, that Bam Adebayo would attempt his first 3 of his season, and that Bradley Beal would score 45 points in one of these matchups, and that headlines about Beal's potential going to the Miami Heat, would end up dominating headlines and dominating the news cycle locally. Turns out none of those things happened, David. So
yes, actually, no, I'm sorry. Bam did attempt a 3-point attempt. It was a full court heave at the end of that second Wizards game. Does that count, Nostradamus?
You're right. That does count. So I was right about that. Devontae Graham was a random scrub Heat, not killer, but kind of like a
wounder.
Like a wounder, like a random scrub Heat wounder. So I'll give myself a half point on that. So out of 3 possible points, we're doing this now on a point system. I got 1.5. So 50% ain't bad. That's pretty good in the world of predictions. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our predictions for this week.
Well,
David, our first.
hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Actually, I'm sorry. No, I just want to kind of bring up something about Beal because I'm kind of curious because I know, look, he's been a long time linked to 29 other teams other than Washington, and it kind of feels like a lot of that noise has been quieted. I know he's been alongside Dame Lillard, the guy that says, "No, I want to be here. I want to be here," and most of us are just shaking our head, going, "Well, why?" And then this team actually looks pretty good, and I think they kind of turned it around. Do you think there's some legitimacy to whether or not he should stay in Washington at this point? Do you think we'll start to see these kind of rumors just quelled once and for all?
I think that while the Wizards are good, there's no reason for these rumors to be a thing. Like if the Wizards came into Miami this week, like with the Houston Rockets record or something, then on a skid like the Sacramento Kings have been, I think that those rumors maybe percolate a little bit more and we start to talk about it. But the fact that the Wizards came in with the best record in the Eastern Conference, then those rumors that seems weird to do. But I will say this, he could be a free agent, not this summer, but the following summer. And if there's no extension, if there's nothing like that in between now and then, and he hasn't said like, hey, I'm definitely returning to Washington or whatever, we're going to be hitting these rumors again. Look, I think the Wizards are a good, like a solid playoff team, but I don't think they're like
absolutely
title contenders. So we'll see. If they have another losing skid, maybe that stuff starts to percolate a little bit more. But David, the Miami Heat play the Detroit Pistons in Detroit on Tuesday. I'm going to look into the future here. Tyler Herro will score 30-plus points in this game. So if you're a betting kind of person and you're looking for some over-unders on some player props, or if you want to play prize picks and put the over-under on Tyler Herro for 30 points, I love the over for this. Detroit, first of all, is a lousy team, and they're really susceptible to scores like Tyler Herro just going off. But he healed the other day as a sixth man, scored 22 points off the bench for Sacramento. They just gave up like 30 points or something like that to Jordan Poole from Golden State. So I love Tyler Herro here. He's a better scorer than Jordan Poole. He's a better scorer than Buddy Hield, I think, as an overall scorer, right? Kind of creating his own stuff. I love Tyler Herro getting 30 points against Detroit on Tuesday in Michigan. What do you think?
I think that's a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, that's as close to a 100% accuracy rate of a prediction as you could possibly get. I mean, I know you have the great sight and everything else, the fifth eye or third eye. I'm not even sure at this point, but whatever eye you've got, you've always. I think, look, that makes a lot of sense. Like, we'll talk about this a little bit later on the show, but there's probably an uptick in his minutes against the Detroit Pistons, and as good a scorer as he is, he's probably going to be electric from the field. He was pretty good against the Wizards on Saturday. Unfortunately, not able to get off a lot of good looks in the fourth quarter, mostly because they just did not go to him as frequently as they should have. So I think that's a point of contention for Heat fans. But anyway, let's move on to your next prediction.
Looking into the future, David, the Heat play Minnesota, second night of a back-to-back in Minnesota on Wednesday.
Right. That's not your
Jimmy
prediction.
Butler has some familiarity with Minnesota. Jimmy Butler, I don't think there's much love lost between Jimmy Butler and that organization. I know a lot of things have changed since he left, but hey, it's still the same logo, still the same laundry. Yeah. Jimmy Butler is going to guard Anthony Edwards, who is getting all this hype in his second year. By the way, Anthony Edwards has been awesome. He's been on a scoring run. He's, you hesitate to go most improved on a second-year guy. You're supposed to improve from your rookie year to your sophomore year, but he's been awesome. I think Jimmy Butler is going to take it personally for some reason and say, you know what? I'm picking up Anthony Edwards. I'm going to end his little run here. The Minnesota Timberwolves will enter that game on a 4-game win streak. They're on a 3-game win streak right now, and they have a game between against the Pelicans between now and then. So they'll beat the Pelicans. They're going to enter that game on a 4-game win streak, and Jimmy Butler would love nothing more than to end that 4-game win streak, crush Minnesota's hopes just a little bit more, and in doing so, picking up their best player, their great hope of the future, Anthony Edwards, and being like, you know what, man? You're not all that hot anyway. I'm limiting you to like 12 points on like 3 for 15 shooting or something like that. That's my prediction for Wednesday.
That's a 2-for-1 prediction, because you also predict that the Timberwolves will go on they'll win their next game too. So that was a bonus prediction from Nostradamus.
Almost 3 predictions, because I also predicted that the Heat would win, and that's not something Nostradamus likes to predict, is wins and losses. But
right, that's beneath you. That's beneath you. But look, the Jimmy thing is interesting because from a micro look at this matchup, yes, he absolutely wants. He's going to hear a ton of boos. They hate him in Minnesota. They think he's a dirty player. They think he's just a bad person, a bad human being. They do not like him there in Minnesota at all. And so he's absolutely going to get booed. And I could see why he could take it a little personally and say, you know what, I'm going to try and do what I can to remind them that I was still the best player that they've had in a long, long time, and the only player that's helped guide that franchise to the playoffs in 2 decades. So having said all that, I could see why you made that prediction, Nostradamus, but Jimmy also doesn't necessarily care about those kind of small battles. It's all about the bigger picture for him, all about winning. I don't think he's going to sacrifice a victory to shut down Anthony Edwards, but I could see him have a play or two where he's going to lock him up, steal the ball, and kind of remind the Timberwolves faithful, all 5,000 of you or 5 dozen of you, or however many there are, that he's the best player you've had in a long, long time. So anyway, let's move on. Wrap up the segment with your last prediction.
Yeah, shots fired at the Minnesota fan base, man. You love taking shots at fan bases in general. Like that's kind of your thing.
What?
It's kind of your brand. The Milwaukee fan base, you're just torching them. It's kind of your new thing. I predict that the Minnesota fan base comes after you, just like the Milwaukee one did. All right, actually, I have a bonus prediction, but here's my final prediction before the bonus prediction. In Chicago on Saturday, I've got nothing other than that game's going into overtime. I know who's going to win that game. I know who's going to be the leading scorer. I know the player who for Chicago who makes a last-minute shot to force overtime. I also know the player for the Heat who takes over in overtime and gets the win there. But I do think that game goes into overtime. I think both of these teams are just really evenly matched. Two of the very few teams in the league that are both in the top 10 in offensive rating and defensive rating. I think it's going to be maybe one of the best games of the year for Miami. I know that Utah Jazz game was really great. It's going to be one of the most fun games to watch of the year for Miami. And that game is going to go to overtime. We're getting bonus basketball Saturday night, David.
Wow.
All right.
I mean, incredible. I mean, not just bonus predictions and like things that you're kind of withholding there. Like that, all this and you can't share it with the rest of us.
Can't give it all away. I can't give you a bonus prediction. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
I am going to have more kinds of alcohol than desserts on Thanksgiving. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think
that's really a prediction there. Knowing you for as long as I have, that's not really quite edgy. There.
I think you start off there's a really good chance that I have at least 3 different kinds of alcohol because you start off the morning with beer.
Ooh, that's a bold choice.
Yeah, just a light beer. I'm not into dark beers and I know you like the stouts or the darker beers.
I do.
I'm more of just if it tastes like water, great, give me that one. So like a Miller Lite or something. That's what I'll start with, and then we'll end up having
water, buddy. That's not water. It tastes like. It's another liquid. But anyway, we'll talk about that at some other time.
Let's keep that. Miller Lite wants to sponsor the show. They're more than welcome.
I love Miller Lites. The best tasting beer ever.
I'll go to whiskey because I don't want to fill up on beer. That's the other thing. You want to save room for food. Whiskey doesn't fill you up. So I'm going to switch to whiskey at some point. But when the food is out and I'm starting to eat, I like to go to a nice red wine, like a Beaujolais or something like a light red floral kind of wine. I'll probably have that with the meal. And then there's a good chance that there's a fourth thing there somewhere. Maybe I grab a seltzer for just to mix it up at some point in the middle of the day. Maybe somebody, pours a tequila shot somewhere in the corner and challenges me to do a tequila. It's all possible there. And then as far as desserts, I think for sure I'll have at least 2 kinds of pie and maybe a brownie or a cookie or something like that. So there's 3 desserts right there. So whatever that fourth alcohol is going to set me over the edge. I know 3 of the alcohols I'm already going to have, David, but I'm predicting that I'm going to have a fourth, and I'm going to consume more kinds of alcohol than dessert. I'm actually curious how many people are on the same page as me on Thanksgiving, because I think there's more than people than maybe people think.
Probably, but one great dessert that you did talk about, Built Bar.
That's right.
The dessert this Thanksgiving.
It absolutely is, and for all of that good food and treats that you're going to get. Maybe you just want a good dessert that isn't full of calories and loaded with sugar. It's a perfect time for Built Bars. Built Bar is the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie, for example, has upwards of 300 calories. That's on the low end. Most Built Bars are only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with a coconut Built Bar. Go for a raspberry Built Bar instead of that raspberry pie. Lots of good flavors to replace any pie. Low calorie, low carb, low fat. They're high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. Built is a great option for when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming around soon enough, go for a Built Bar or 2 right now. Share some at your family gatherings. It's going to make things much less awkward. Maybe Aunt Betty hasn't tried a Built Bar yet. Give her a Built Bar. Now you have a conversation starter. You have something that you can relate to her with. It's all great. New surprises all month long over at Built.com. Limited time flavors arriving at the site regularly, so make sure you're checking it out often. There's nothing quite like Built Bar Black Friday, so if you haven't ordered it now, don't worry about it. Wait until Friday. Get in line on your computer, I guess, if that's how, online, not online at Walmart, online on your computer.
Right. Right.
Get your calendar out. Make sure you mark it down. Black Friday at Built.com is going to be a huge event with all sorts of surprises. Go to Built.com. Use that promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off on your order. Use that promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
Just a reminder that you can always reach us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com or via Twitter using the hashtag AskLOHeat. Be sure to please subscribe to the show and leave a review. Of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been getting a lot of great feedback after our last episode, which I thought there was no way anybody was going to watch it. Somehow 3,000 of you did. Incredible. Great support. Thank you so much for always being there for us. And now we want to return the favor and have you come out and meet us as well, because we are planning our first ever watch party. Again, our tentative date set for this Tuesday. Not too tentative, because right now we're almost a day away at this point.
Yeah, we're doing
it. We're doing this. We're going to be at Lincoln's Beard. You can go to lincolnsbeardbrewing.com to find out all the details about that place. We'll be there around 6:30. We'll be having some drinks, watching some basketball, having a great time. We wanted to record an episode there, but I don't think the logistics are going to happen. This is just an opportunity to meet, have a couple of drinks, talk basketball, and have a good time. So we look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a great time. Wes, are you looking forward to having a watch party, our first ever watch party?
I'm so excited. Please come out, even if you just can stop by for a few minutes. We're going to have a really good time. It's just a chance to talk hoops.
Yeah. BOGO. It's buy one, get one. You get a beer. Yeah. Buy one, get one at Lincoln's Beard on Tuesday. What a great opportunity. You get
Lincoln's Beard in Miami. Buy one, get one beers. The first... you know what? I don't care. If you come up to us, if you come up to me, I'm not going to get into your wallet, David, but if you come up to me and say you're here for the Locked On Heat watch party, I'm buying you a beer.
Nice.
And I'm actually, I guess I'm buying you 2 beers, technically. So come on out. We're going to just talk Miami Heat hoops, talk about whatever you want. We're really excited about this opportunity.
All right. Well, listen, it's Monday, a Monday episode. As always, I start off your week with a little unfortunate anger, because there's just some things I need to get off my chest. And in this case, it's more about a kind of view of this team from a macro view of the NBA in general, because Luke Walton, if you've probably heard, has been relieved of his duties as head coach of the Sacramento Kings, probably a season or two too late. I don't know when he took over, but it's probably a day too late after he was immediately hired. That was a mistake from day one. Should never have brought him on there. The expectations for that team, well, who knows? The Kings, a poorly run franchise. They've had their 11th coach over the past, I don't even know how many seasons. Like, what an abysmal franchise. What a failure as an organization. And that's why we should be so appreciative of, one, the Miami Heat culture, the Miami Heat stability of the front office, and Eric Spoelstra. You never have to question Spoelstra's dedication, his chops as a coach. He does everything so well as a coach. He's always been able to connect, whether it's LeBron James or anybody else in between. He's always been able to connect with his players. He does a fantastic job. Wes, I know that you're a big fan of Spo's coaching, as all Heat fans should be. And look, you can see the Kings and how poorly run they are. You can look at the Timberwolves that have been going through coaches like they're going out of style. And yet Miami has Eric Spoelstra, who's been coaching this team longer than Pat Riley. Everybody talks about bringing in Pat Riley. Pat Riley is a wonderful front office executive, but he's been coaching this team less than Eric Spoelstra has. Eric Spoelstra is the definitive coach of this franchise, and I don't think there's any questioning that. He brought 5 title runs and 2 championships to this team. I think he is the best coach in Heat franchise history.
Yeah, I'm fine with you saying that. The things that he had to navigate as a coach, people say, after the big 3, people just pile on and say it was just LeBron that made Eric Spoelstra and all that stuff. Yeah, he had an incredible amount of talent. Has anybody ever tapped into LeBron as a head coach better than Eric Spoelstra has? No, the answer is unequivocally no. I don't think there's any argument against it, and that's not just coming from the Heat perspective. And what he has been able to do as far as the solving of the puzzle each and every season, I don't know that there's anybody in the league better who can just take that roster that he has at the start of a season and make the most of it by the end of the season. Very Bill Belichick in that way. I hate to compare anybody to Bill Belichick, but very Belichickian in that way, where it's just like, look, I've got this group, and I'm going to figure out how to maximize this group and play to their strengths. We're seeing in a small example of it with PJ Tucker right now, just allowing PJ Tucker to be free from the corner three and just like, hey, actually, you know what? You can dribble. Go ahead. We're going to use you on the short roll, and you can kind of go into your little floater game and stuff like that. Things that you talked about, David. Like, it's just figuring out those things, empowering players. He's great at managing egos. He's great at empowering those role players lower on the bench, lower on the totem pole. There's a reason why every single year over the last 2 or 3 years, he's voted top coach in the NBA by his peers, right? In these GM surveys and things like that. I think that, if people don't respect and appreciate what Spo has brought to the Heat by now, I don't know what to tell them. They're lost. I know generally we're just really critical of coaches in sort of the sports fan and sports media world anyway, but Jimmy Butler misses jump shots, right? Like Bam Adebayo screws up a switch now and again on defense. Like,
that's not
a
coaching.
Wrong call, a wrong thing right here, a missed substitution opportunity. Like, it doesn't mean that he can't coach. It just means he made a mistake, and he does make mistakes. I think, I just got done covering the Warriors for 2 years, and people are like, Bob Myers is a terrible GM. Like, Steve Kerr's a terrible head coach. Fire him. Get somebody new. It's like, dude, if you get lucky enough to just have an above average coach for a long time in the NBA, you're great. In the case of Eric Spoelstra, you have perhaps the best coach in the NBA. I think he is the best coach in the league. Don't take it for granted.
No, absolutely. Well said. Let's move on, because I think there's a bigger concern here. We have not, as of this recording, and we're recording this Sunday evening, we don't know exactly what Duncan Robinson's status is going to be for the upcoming game on Tuesday. Obviously, he was injured against the Washington Wizards. We haven't heard any kind of confirmation from the team or otherwise. So at this point in time, we have to, it's the first game of a back-to-back set. They're playing on Wednesday at Minnesota, as Nostradamus revealed to us. And we have to look ahead and say, you know what? It's probably in Miami's best interests, even as bad as they've been from the three-point line, as we discussed in our first segment, to probably shut down Duncan. And it's unfortunate because he has the longest streak, I think, in franchise history of consecutive games played. He's been a phenomenal Iron Man of a player here. And he's likely to miss Tuesday's game. And if he is, who's the obvious starter here for me? It's Tyler Herro, right? I think Tyler Herro gets inserted into the starting lineup, providing what a lot of people have wanted to see all along, Tyler as a starter and Duncan to the bench. I think it'll work because, Tyler's been a pretty good player. He's been pretty good defensively. He's shown some improvement in that area. He's also been an incredible shooter, and I'm sure Spo will figure out a way of staggering those lineups. Are you concerned about the Tyler to the starting lineup decision, if it does come?
I actually disagree. I don't think that's what he does if Duncan Robinson has to miss a game. Yeah, I think that Tyler Herro, obviously you insert him when you were missing Kyle Lowry, when you were missing Jimmy Butler, and you need to, when one of those guys are out, you need another guy who can, handle the ball, play make, create shots for not just himself, but for others. And that's not really the case when you're missing Duncan Robinson. When you're missing Duncan Robinson, you're just missing a floor spacer in that starting group. I actually think, and if you still have Kyle and Jimmy in that starting lineup, then I think you have enough playmaking in that starting unit. I don't think you need Tyler in that group. I actually think it would be a detriment to put him in. Just let him come off the bench as your sixth man, and you just have Max Strus play that Duncan Robinson role in that starting lineup. Wow. I think that's fine. I think that's what they should do. Should be noted, too, by the way, that you and I had this exact same conversation almost when Kyle Lowry got hurt. And we're like, yeah, just sit him down, rest him. He was out there the very next game playing. So, but Miami has also been a little conservative with holding guys out here and there, right? Like they held out Tyler Herro with the wrist thingy the other night, and he came out the next day and played and whatever. Like, we'll see. We'll see. I have no idea whether or not they'll play Duncan Robinson or not. I think what Eric Spoelstra said after the game is we'll see how he feels. And I think that's kind of the approach they've taken all season long with this stuff. So I hesitate to make any predictions on that. But I think if he does have to miss a game or a substantial amount of time, maybe more than one game, I think you put Strus in that starting lineup and then keep Tyler Herro coming off the bench as your sixth man.
It makes a lot of sense. And I think, this would be a very different answer, I think, if Victor Oladipo was healthy and available to play. He seems like he would be able to be just plugged into any lineup, and I think he provides, playmaking. He can stretch the floor to some degree. At least that's the hope that he'll be able to do so consistently, and I think he would be a great option there to replace Duncan. Not full-time, but as a potential starter in case of injury and things of that sort. But yeah, the Max Strus decision, I could see it. I think Max has done a good job in spurts. I think he provides some floor spacing. He's a dedicated shooter, and I think he has that reputation. So I think defenses will shift. in order to cover a guy who's got the reputation of being a shooter. But maybe none of that matters because Detroit not a particularly good team anyway. Should we talk about Kyle Lowry struggling? Because I think a lot of Heat fans are a little concerned after he had a bad shooting night, 3 of 12 against the Wizards on Saturday for just 7 points. Anything you want to get into about Kyle shooting?
Not really. Not because I'm not concerned. I think Kyle Lowry has shown age in different portions of this season. I don't think he's going to be a 20-point per game scorer this year, but I don't know that we expected that in the first place. Now, you'd hope that he shoots better than he has, right? He's been kind of an inefficient shooter for most of these games. I understand the concern. I guess I haven't dug into that specific topic enough to come up with like a theory on my own. So I'm not ready to just like come out and start talking about it with any sort of, I got to look into it a little bit more, but to say that it would be inaccurate to say I'm concerned. It would be inaccurate to say that I'm not concerned right now.
Okay. Fair point. Well, speaking of coming out to talk, reminder, we're going to have our watch party this Tuesday. So we hope to see you there. It's going to be a great time, I think. Again, just an opportunity to hang out, watch the basketball. The Pistons might not be very good, but you'll have good company, to say the least. Thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember that every episode is always free and available wherever you get the show. So make sure you subscribe to get the best coverage available. Make sure to also check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. This is David Ramil signing off for now. Thanks so much for joining me, Wes.
Wrap it up, B.